Friends, today we will talk about myths and misinterpretation of labor laws. The government of India has enacted the 4 codes, one code in 2019 and another 3 codes in 2020. So far, they have not been implemented. Their rules has been prepared by central government, and being a concurrent list matter, some of the state has already amended their rules accordingly, and they are ready to implement. The major issue is the people are raising different kind of doubts, and they are not ready to implement. They are defining some terms as per their myths, or they are trying to misinterpretation of some terminologies among the society. In this regard, many authorities has given different kind of definition of wages, and second terminology is worker or employee. These two terminologies are basic or fundamental terminologies of new code of wages. The people are raising the different kind of their myths or misinterpretation as per their whims and fancies, and creating the trouble or hindrance to implement the new code. The government of India has given the 3 clear-cut message. This would be treated as basic, and it should be the 50% of total wage. The main components are basic, dearness, and retaining allowance. If you are paying some other allowances, then you have to keep these 3 accounts 50% of your total sum of remuneration. Second definition is worker. The people are raising many kind of doubts. Who would be the worker? What is the current definition of worker? And some of the eminent consultants are raising such kind of question. My worry is when the leading consulting firms like Pricewater, Ernst and Young, and some others are raising such kind of issues. I have gone through recently the Economic Times, where the Ernst and Young is raising this question. They are mentioning technologies such as manager or managerial or supervisory role have not been defined and may have very difficult meaning to this digital world than that interpreted by the courts in the past. For instance, if someone is supervising work done by robots or other artificial intelligence tools, will it now mean they are supervisory and therefore not workers? My doubt is, when pilot has been decided, some other operators who are doing this kind of jobs earlier, the various court has decided, why the people are raising such kind of questions? It means they are not ready to implement the new definitions of these codes in the interest of workmen. The elite group is trying to justify their myths or their misinterpretations in favor of employer, as and when they can twist the definition as per their whims and fancies. Their duty is to implement these labor laws, and later on they can amend if they are not fit as per the Indian work culture. What is happening? Most of the rules have been borrowed from the Western world. Their work culture or their pattern of working is different, which is not fit in India. In India, people or employers are not ready to pay the minimum wages, where we can think about the welfare. So this kind of worries government has to take care and try to implement these labor codes as early as possible. This is my personal wish. I can quote some good articles which have been published in the past. Suspension of Indian labor laws to hurt low-income workers. This has been published in The Diplomat by Aditi Bhatt in June 23, 2020. Second very important article was labor law perform a redistributive function. Diluting them has serious consequence. In social media, The Wire, Rasmi Venkatesan has raised different issues, and she has raised the very important issues which every employer or every organization has to think. Number 3, relaxing labor laws cannot help industry in the long run. Formalizing the economy can. India spent, Bhaskar Tripathi, 13th May 2020. So these kind of articles has been published, and various other articles relating to why income disparity is so deep in India have been published. The Economic Times, The Hindu, the Hindustan Times, Times of India, Tribune, and so many other leading newspapers in India. So people are trying to give the right direction or right support to the government to implement these codes as early as possible. The Indian industry has been worrying of investing in India, especially over the last few years. The reason for this cannot be stringent labor laws alone. India's ease of doing business is still struggling with other issues. What are those issues? Number 1, poor contract enforcement. This is the mindset of Indians. They are raising the question on the mindset of Indian business society. Number 2, shortage of skilled labor. This is a big issue. There is a big gap, academia and industry. There is a big gap of the skill set developers and skill required in the industry. Third, very important point is an unstable tax structure. Government is changing the tax structure, direct or indirect taxes, every year. So these 3 major issues are the hindrance in the speedy industrialization in India, not the labor laws. Therefore, we request the all allied groups and the government of India to focus on this issue and try to implement. The delay will definitely increase the consequences, and the gap between capital and labor will increase automatically. What is happening? The capitalist is trying to develop the environment as per their whims and fancies in the form of performance management or some other key performance related issues. They are trying to focus their issues, and they are developing that kind of culture where labor laws do not have any space. Slowly, what will happen? The labor law will be aside, and the capitalist approach will increase. Therefore, the disturbance in the society will automatically increase. Therefore, every industrialist, businessman, MSMEs, senior officials has to understand this consequence in a long term, and they have to implement the labor laws in the interest of nation or in the interest of workforce, so that they can compete with the international market, or they can provide the quality product or services in India, and they can help the India to grow fast, and they can increase the GDP of India as government is trying to implement as early as possible. So my request is to all to understand these terminologies, the value of such kind of amendments in letter and spirit, and try to implement those things directly and quickly. If there are some requirement of any amendment, they can be made later on, and we can inculcate the effective industrial work culture in India. Otherwise, what will happen? Some state will grow like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and some state will not grow like UP, Bihar, seven sister states. And slowly the differences will increase. My again worry is the state government are passing the orders and trying to follow the definition of local worker or migrant worker. That is also a big issue. We have seen such kind of issues in Gujarat. We have seen in Maharashtra. Every year we are facing this kind of issue in Mumbai. So we have to make our nation stronger. We should be united, and we have to focus on such important issues.